of Walk Bike Roll Randolph, that at the last select board meeting, we were tasked with trying to get an extension on the flashing pedestrian beacon grant, and we did. We were allowed to push it back until June 15th of 2026. And so I think at this point, and maybe you all could confirm, I think we're just waiting for the select board and the town manager to just review the master walk-bike plan. Is that sort of the next step?
Yes.
Okay.
It's
great.
on the internal review and then it goes out for the public review.
Perfect. Thank you.
We had one online.
Hi, can you all hear me?
We can you identify yourself for the record?
Yes, my name is Whitney.
Okay.
All right, I have a letter to read, and I'm going to start. Good evening, my name is Whitney Wilson. I am 26, and my partner and I own 37 Weston Street. I am here as a concerned neighbor. When my partner came back from the Monday night Planning Commission meeting with the news that someone is attempting to create an ordinance that would restrict residents as to the care and keeping of animals on their property, I was shocked. I was further shocked to learn that these vain aesthetic complaints were sailed under the guise of care for the general welfare of the public or health issues. I went to speak to my neighbors, whom I haven't met yet. I am close to my other neighbors that surround my house, Donna, Randy and Sheila, and Steve. But when I met Jeff and Jess, it felt like I knew them for a long time. Jess is a 13th generation Vermonter who was rooted here in a way that most of us, like myself, can only aspire to be. On their property, they have chickens, some roosters, 2 pigs, and ducks. All of the animals are multi-use animals that provide meat and eggs for their household. Jess explained to me that because of her illness and the rising cost of groceries, she hopes to continue her beautiful home and garden. Jess and Jeff do not hold themselves out as a commercial farm. They're simply living as an urban homestead like many Vermonters do. I was surprised when Jess greeted me with warmth and offered to show me around her property. There, I saw that all of her animals were healthy, clean, contained, and are not creating a public nuisance. I've never had an issue with Jess's home or whatever personal liberties they display on their property, as it is none of my concern. Yet this did not stop a woman from invoking a recent Vermont Supreme Court case in Reed 8 Taft Street to argue for imposing restrictions on people like Jess and Jeff. What she failed to mention was that the property in that Supreme Court case was extremely different. In that case, the property was a huge backyard cannabis cultivation business and duck raising operation and properly placed on a residential lot. In that case, there was a very concerned group of neighbors that complained consistently about the property in Essex Junction. Jason Struthers' animals had escaped constantly in the public areas of the town, and the property had multiple overlapping regulated use issues in a zoning district that prohibited those activities. Although the conclusion of the case is the same, it is important to understand why the court concluded that way. Jeff and Jess have no pattern of animal nuisance like Jason. Jess and Jeff have no complaints, no pattern of animal abuse. The animals are not for commercial sale. They are not a business. They are not running an agricultural operation. Their property is a personal use homestead. This case cannot be used to justify broad ordinances against animal keeping. It would be unjust. What would be next for homeowners in Randolph? Ordinances that fine homeowners when their dogs bark? Outside of Jess and Jeff, this ordinance would affect everyone in Randolph that decides to keep some chickens in their backyard or have a few ducks. I did a quick sample comparison from ordinances around Vermont that regulate the care and keeping of animals, and not only do some use egregious fines to regulate homeowners, but some animals are taken away for infractions that don't concern health or welfare. These are different from your standard animal mistreatment rules. Some ordinances like these call for extreme measures, as they can limit animals per square foot of your lot and even go so far as to regulate the materials used on animal containment. All in all, we need to consider the culture of Vermont in this conversation. This directly goes against that. This is not how we solve neighborhood disagreements. We talk to each other. We knock on doors and voice our concerns, just like I did today with Jess. We hash things out in our front yard. We don't waste police resources for baseless complaints to pursue personal vendettas against neighbors because their rooster is loud, or their ducks smell, or their porch is junky. We have a spirit of mutual care in Vermont, not suspicion. This is what keeps our towns alive. I hope these words do not make you think that I'm against regulation. But again, if you have a store, you need to know the full picture. According to the BT Digger article, when this happened at Essex Junction, there were substantial reports of multiple allegations against the homeowner that turned into a paper trail. The ordinances that regulate the care and keeping of animals come about when there are neighbors that have exhausted the amount of times they told their neighbor to correct issues with the animals. So I ask you all tonight, feel free to regulate, but please regulate where needed. Regulate when complaints come in, and regulate when abuse is founded. Regulate when it affects the health or general welfare of the public. Do not regulate where it is not needed. There are no genuine issues to be addressed here. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
My name is Vanessa Kranz, and I am the woman who came to the Planning Commission.
We're not discussing the issue. She gets a chance to bring up an issue, and the board decides if they want to take it up for a whole debate or anything.
So I can't bring up an issue?
You can bring up a separate issue, but we're not debating this issue tonight. It's at the Planning Commission, it's not at the Select Board. So the Planning Commission will take this issue up. If they feel it needs something, they'll then develop it, go through the public comment, do all those pieces, and then they will bring it to the Select Board to consider.
I went to the Planning Commission, and they asked me to come here.
The Planning Commission.
It's got to be on the agenda, though, for us to talk about it.
Right. No, we did say that it would make sense for Vanessa to come to the Select Board during public comment to talk about briefly what's going on, just to see if this is something that the Select Board would entertain discussing before the Planning Commission went through a potentially long process of working through the issue. It just seemed like it might make sense for the Select Board to at least have some input as to whether this is something that we wanted to spend time on before we. That was.
We want to debate it.
That was that.
With it not being on the agenda,
that
though.
was, no.
I mean, the topic's been introduced.
It wasn't something that we were, that the Select, I shouldn't say we, because I'm not officially on the Planning Commission, I was listening. What their thinking was that they wanted at least some sort of, just the Select Board to know what was going on and to have some sort of informal, sort of like, yeah, this is something that we should look into, or we've been down this road before and this is not something the Select Board is going to be interested in. It was really not about putting it on the agenda, it was more about a more informal process, starting with informing with the board through public comment.
So the question for the board is whether we feel like the Planning Commission ought to spend time looking into whether an ordinance like this is one that is worth evaluating.
Essentially, that was the
Anybody have a
thinking.
feeling one way or another on that? I really just don't want to get into the back and forth and debating it. I think the Planning Commission's the location for that. And we got a huge agenda tonight.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily know that the Planning Commission needed to have an official decision. It was more like,
I think it's up to the planning. I think the development of that is in the Planning Commission, and if they want to take some time to listen to both sides of it and make a decision of whether they think it should come up, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think I don't want to weigh the pros and cons
I will
tonight. But
relay that message to the
Yeah.
Planning Commission.
I think it's up to the members if it's something they want to get into. I don't have an opinion one way or another, I guess, and I really don't want to weigh it out tonight, sorry.
Yeah,
But,
no, you are.
yeah.
It's very clear.
Cool. Any more public comment?
Hi, my name is Brooke, and you mentioned for the flashing beacon light that would go through internal review and then have for public review. How do you invite public review, not just on that issue, but on any issue, inviting the community as a new resident of Randolph?
It usually gets posted out in the public forums, front page forum, on the website, sometimes an ad in the paper. different things, and it's made usually the plan or the document or things that we're looking for comment on or put on the website, so you can link to it and download the documents or look at them online.
Thank you.
Any others? Seeing that, I'm moving quickly. Approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Consent calendar?
You guys are a little fast on the last one. We don't need 5G anymore. But we'll get there and skip it. It's not a big deal.
Yep. Okay. Consent calendar?
Motion to approve.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Dennis is here. I just scanned the room, make sure you were here. Setting the 26 tax rate, not a favorite thing to do. So there are rates in the packet. I was looking at the rates, and I know I talked with Trevor about this, and he went online, but I think there's a mistake somewhere at the state level, not at your level, because they're the right numbers, but all of a sudden our homestead, non-homestead rates have flipped, and that doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't to me either. So I'm not sure if Trevor wants to lead this discussion. We sat with him and did these tax rates, or if you want me to just give you a quick overview of them. I understand you probably have 4 pages of a handout. The first one being a tax rate worksheet, how we establish the rates.
Yep.
The second page being the rates for both the total rate for the town and then the total rate for the police district.
Yep.
The third page being a comparison of rates from 2023, 24, 25, and 26. And the last page is just informational. It's the rate of the growth of our grand list since 2004. And I know the big question probably is the easy one to deal with is the municipal tax rate. That's derived out from taking everything that was voted on at town meeting, which had to be raised by taxes, and dividing that by the municipal grand list to get our town tax rate. Same thing with the police district. We take the police district amount to be raised by taxes, divide it by the police district grand list, and we get that tax rate. Local agreement is very similar. What the local agreement is all about is there are times that the town would vote to make something tax exempt or to vote to extend a veterans exemption. In Randolph, we've done both of those things. We have voted to exempt the Randolph Senior Center, but that's not recognized by the state. So the town has to cover the amount of education tax that would be due to the state. And then additionally, we have veterans deductions. So the state of Vermont, if you're a qualified veteran, you get $10,000 off your assessed value. Years ago, the town of Randolph voted to expand that to $40,000 of assessed value. So that leaves $30,000 for each eligible veteran that the town has to cover the education tax. This year we had 39 of those. So that tax that we're covering is $15,000. So between the two, our local agreement, we had to raise $20,000 to pay an education tax. Divide that by the grand list, and that's where we get that rate. I think the big thing that Trini brought up was our homestead and non-homestead tax rates, which we get from the Department of Taxes each year. And this year, they went up considerably. We're looking at an increase of 17 cents, almost 17 cents. The state had told us they expected there to be some sort of an increase around 6%, but this increase is about 13%. So that was the big change. We do get a list of property tax or education property tax rates throughout the state, and every year we glance through that and notice that sometimes there's towns that are upside down, where the homestead rate is actually a little bit more than the non-homestead rate. This year, reviewing the same material, there are 62 towns in the same situation. All of our schools, so Randolph, Braintree, and Brookfield, all have a higher homestead rate than non-homestead rate. It was Mimi and I in my office this morning, we're just talking about whether it was appealable. I have to go back and find the letter. The tax rate was, the incentives with the tax rate. What we can appeal is in each December, they send the town a list of, or the results of their equalization study that they do, which every town participates in. And last year, we had a CLA, or common level of appraisal, of 103%. So we thought that was really good. And of course, in December, you don't know exactly what your school budgets are going to be, or what the state's grand list is going to be, or what the state education plan total is going to be. The mathematics behind it are really tricky. I wish I could understand them. I'm not an accountant. I just at property values. So we were surprised also that the rate not only increased as much as it did, but that there was a higher homestead rate than non-homestead rate.
But it almost looks like they flipped them on us. And so we're, on our homesteads, we're getting a huge increase, and the non-homestead is getting 2 cents.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute. But if it stayed the other way, they're each about 10 cents.
Just this morning, Mimi and I were having a conversation if we might be able to reach out to the education department or the tax department and say, hey, can you, because it's a really complicated formula how they get there. They set a CLA and then they do an expansion of that and the equalized state grand list. And then they, Larry might know, I'm not sure, but they take like the budgets, the supervisory union budgets, and then it's weighted by pupil. So it's really confusing. It's beyond me. I don't know how they do it, but we're wondering if they might be able to give us a spreadsheet or something that shows us how they derived at these figures.
So, and once they get it, how do they break it out between homestead and non-homestead?
Exactly.
Because when they started that whole formula, the homestead rate was going to be lower than the non-homestead, and now we got 60 towns.
Yeah, 62 towns. So that's 20%.
That it flipped it on, and it's not a little flip.
Yeah, we saw an average, well, we saw an increase of 8.9 cents, or a difference of 8.9 cents between homestead and non-homestead. Brookfield saw 10 cents, and Braintree saw 13 cents difference between homestead and non-homestead. We were the lowest of the three.
Still doesn't feel good.
Yeah, I know it doesn't feel good, and I'm not certain how, if there's a mechanism to appeal. We're going to look into that, but that's the rate that they give us to plug into our tax bills.
So going back to confirm with them, like, are you sure you didn't flip something in your formula?
Yeah.
I know it's going to create a mess everywhere, but I'm challenged to vote to put a rate in place that looks like there's an error in it. And I know we need it to do the bills, but how long is it? How long would it take to have that conversation with them to get an answer? Like, if we pass this contingent upon you getting an explanation out of the state that's acceptable.
Good question. I wouldn't be reaching out to the state until next week. Tomorrow I'm out of town for a VALA conference. So the Vermont Assessors and Listers Association has their annual conference tomorrow. So this will be a topic. The director of property evaluation and review will be there. So I'm not sure if we can bend her ear, or find other towns that were in a similar situation and see if they have also inquired or tried to appeal. I think the difficulty for the town is getting tax bills out at a minimum of 30 days prior to, or 31 days, whatever, prior to their due date, which would be this month, end of this month. From what the couple of times I've talked to, I know Norwich, this is not uncommon for them. They've been upside down for a while, like their homestead rate's higher than non-homestead. They felt their calculations were right. And they may be right. They did have a new calculation, a new formula this year to do this by, which was set by statute, I believe. So I think it's an unfortunate result of, I'm not sure it's wrong. We can ask. I'm not sure it's wrong. If anybody has any wisdom as to the way the tax rates are set by the state, I'd love to understand that.
I'm far from an expert on this stuff, but I did look into it a little bit earlier today, and from what I can gather is that the numbers are probably correct. It's not unusual for the non-homestead rate to be above the homestead rate. It happens every year to various towns. The reason, and I'm going to try and to get this correct as far as I can, is that the non-homestead rate is a statewide rate that all non-homesteads pay. It's the same rate. It's only adjusted for the CLA. The homestead rate is not a statewide rate. It's connected to the way your particular school district is funded. And that is then calculated, and I think this is right, but I want to learn more about this as well. That has a lot to do with the per pupil spending. And so if you're at the top end of the per pupil spending, that's when you see this sort of inversion where the homestead rate is higher than the non-homestead rate. And this year, if I remember correctly, when I spoke to our superintendent a few months ago, he was saying that because of the way the state changed the way that they do pupil counts, that we ended up basically maxing out our per pupil spending, and we still had to cut the budget to do so. And it had to do with this quirk in how students are counted at the state level. That's my understanding, and I just told you everything I know.
And this is why I pushed every year that the school has got to tell people what the impact of their budget is on their taxes. They say they can estimate it, they should estimate it so people know, versus a dollar amount versus now we're gonna take an already high level of properties in delinquency for property tax bills, and we're gonna jack them again, 17 cents. That hurts. That hurts. I don't feel good about this at all. And I know we have no control over it, but I think we're not transparent when we vote on what the tax implication is to people. We just say, here's a dollar amount, how does this look? And it comes through, but we don't say, voting this is X number, X on your tax bill. It's awful. And then the non-homestead drops. So the people that have second homes here are paying less than the people that live
Yeah, it's wrong.
It's 100% wrong. We just flipped it. We just flipped that rate. If you look at it last year the town had, for homesteads, 177, and we're going to 196. The non-homestead was 185, and they're going to 187. You know? If you flipped them, it's a 10-cent increase for homestead and a 10-cent increase for non-homestead. That's why I was like, it's got to be flipped. It's got to be transposed somewhere. And I completely get the municipal one and the police district and the locals, and I vote for those. I'll support those. But boy, I'm struggling to vote this other one. Even though it's not ours, I hate doing it to people. It's wrong. Just wrong. Any questions or comments from anybody? Anybody want to do my vote for me?
I'll just tell you the values are strong and don't shoot the messenger.
No, the town stuff is right there, and we've kept it pretty level. We went from 66 cents to 68 cents in the town rate. And I think we've done a good job holding that one. It's the education piece. It's just awful. It's awful. I don't think anybody's brave enough to make the motion to pass that one.
So moved. Motion to pass. I know.
Do you want to vote them separate? We can vote them separate.
Can we?
Yeah.
Well, what does that look like? Then we just don't pay the
It's
school
awful.
taxes?
No, we can't do it really.
All right.
But we
We do a
can
little
pass
protest,
it.
though. I kinda like that.
We can pass it contingent upon the
Approval.
question going to the state of,
That's true, just
are
to
you
double
really
check.
sure you got this right?
Yeah.
And can you give us an explanation of it?
Okay, motion to approve contingent upon confirmation of tax rates. Does that sound like a good motion? Is that the way to picture me?
And an explanation.
And you want an explanation, please.
Everybody does, even Dennis wants one, so.
I know it's not second, we have a question. So what happens if they come back and say it's ready?
I mean, we're
is this-
done. We have no choice on that one.
And will that
Right.
prevent tax bills from being issued? I know that there's a push to try to get tax bills into people's hands sooner than later if there's going to be this side of an increase.
It's huge on people.
So I'm not sure what you want, either myself or the town manager or both together to try to reach out to the state.
Somebody's gonna have to reach out to the state and just be like,
If it's
can you
right-
check this?
if it's right,
Because
it's
it
right.
looks wrong. Yep. And if they say it's not, I still think we ought to appeal it just for the,
I think like Larry said, it's just the calculation, the way the calculations work.
yeah, but it's just, it's shitty.
I don't disagree.
That's on the record.
And it's only the education rate that's based on homestead and non-homestead. So like there's no tools we can use at a local level that,
We have no, well, yes. the
Well, I'm just saying, like-
Education budget when we pass it, right? But then it goes up to this whole weighted system and it gets all wonky and how that all works. We have a motion that doesn't have a second.
Just saying.
It's about to die. We're about to move on.
We have, we have to do this, we don't have much of a choice.
All those in favor, even if it's under protest? Aye. Opposed? That's where I'd like to put my vote, but I know I can't. All right.
Oh, sorry,
Good
sorry.
luck.
Sorry,
No,
I'm trying to
you're
make-
fine.
You meant that tone.
Yeah. I'll try to make those calls tomorrow, Dennis, if I can, while you guys are gone. I'll catch you on Monday, and then we can keep things rolling on parallel, so then we can get bills printed sooner than later, too.
I'll be in Monday morning to talk to you then. Great, thank you.
Thank you, Dennis.
We have 3 assembly permits. Does anybody have any concerns with any of them, or can we move them all as one?
I didn't have any concerns.
Anybody in the audience can?
Motion.
Question. I'm Catherine Bowden from Gifford. It's my first select board meeting, so if I'm asking this the wrong time. But I'm the community relations coordinator, and with our permit as a nonprofit, we were just asking if the fee could be waived, and I didn't know if that.
I don't think we waive fees. Well, we need them to pay all these taxes.
I was told to ask.
Gotta get revenue everywhere we can. Anybody want to make a motion on this?
Motion to approve all 3.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Open iron request for outdoor seating.
Will that only last for this year and then they have to come back at the beginning of next year?
Well, it goes with their liquor license.
Wait, did we approve their liquor license? Okay. Yeah,
Is that one?
well, no, but like, yeah.
They didn't have outdoor seating in it. So that's what they're coming back to do, is get the outdoor
Oh,
seating.
gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. All right. I think it's great. I don't have any problems with it. Okay. Motion to approve.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 911 coordinator's request to assign a street name. This is the first street name request. I'm gonna roll with some of these things. This one is just to meet a requirement in the regulations to name one of the streets in a trailer park, right? Do we have to pick the
Right.
name? Go ahead, Trevor. Tag your it.
Oh, I was saying, yeah, sorry, when you're a little satellite lag here or whatever, but, and then they don't currently have E911 numbers, or they do, they'll be reassigned, is that?
So right now, the entire mobile home park is 26 Park Street. and that can't be. Literally the driveway that goes into the mobile home park has to have a name, and then each mobile home will have a number. And they won't be 1, 2, 3, 4. It might be something like 23, 35, 57, depending on the measurement. And the owner, Joyce Jacobs, has proposed 2 names, a first choice and a second choice. It should be in your packet. And I have cleared both of those names with the state of Vermont. So either would be fine.
Okay. My packet is not.
So the 2 proposed names, the first choice on the list is Mill Pond Lane, and the second choice is Carriage Barn Lane.
I have 0 preference.
There's no pond there, right?
There used to be, apparently. That's what she told me.
Sure. That's
Were the carriage barns also in that right there?
Well, the name of the mobile home park is Carriage Barn Mobile Home Park, and there's Carriage Barn there or across the street.
Does
Yeah.
that
When
make-
it was one property. Yeah.
Does that make it confusing?
the carriage barn's across, or there's no pond?
No, that you name it Carriage Barn, and it's Carriage Barn.
I don't think so.
And you still get it eventually when you say it twice, right?
Judy,
Yeah?
the request is Carriage Lane is the first choice to go with Carriage.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay, well, I prefer that anyways.
Yeah.
Okay, carriage barn lane or carriage lane?
Carriage Lane.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that a motion? And you say you prefer that.
Motion, yes, so moved. I motion to name this road, this lane, Carriage Lane.
A second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next up, we have a request to
And
change.
just one more question, if we could.
Yep.
So private, this is a private road and not a town road, correct?
Yep.
Thank you.
Not taking over anymore right now. We have a request now to rename Sherman Lane. We have a Cameron, Scott Cameron?
We're back here.
Okay. And so this is a lane right now that serves 4 properties, 3 of which are in the Cameron family.
That's correct.
Is that correct? And then there's one other property, Santiago. Lane. She's not there. And they have written in saying they're not in favor of the name change. And that, has there been conversations between you?
Between me and Santiago?
Yeah.
Yes, we've been emailing back and forth. The last email from her to me was requesting that we hold off on the name change until she was moved in. I advised her that was probably a bad idea because she might have to change her name twice. You go through the whole address change with credit cards, bank, post office. You guys don't meet every day, so.
Once a month. That's what we're going for.
I subdivided it and
Yeah,
sold
hang on,
it.
hang on. We'll get to you. There'll be other comment. And so the 4th parcel that's not in your family, they're just purchasing it now? That's a new purchase that somebody's
I believe that's what
moving
Faye was about to say, yes. Faye, weeks ago, probably, I guess I'd say, they signed papers.
into? Great. You wanted to contribute, Faye?
I have a hard time hearing again.
It's your turn.
Okay. I developed that little subdivision and did all the work, put the money into it. And my boy helped me some. He's passed away. And I thought Sherman Lane was good. And I'd like to keep it that way. And we did everything and they were all sold as Sherman Lane.
My name is Paul Ray, and I was involved in helping Tay. He purchased the property from the Catholic Church probably 15 years ago, 15 years ago. And he's been paying taxes on that since then. And we went through the town process, the state process, to subdivide that into 4 lots. The Shermans have been in this community. He's been a business person for 60 years in this community. He's really provided a lot, both him and Doris. And I think it's a testament to be able to drive by and see it as Sherman Lane. And road names really should be changed. If you get onto the addressing standards from the Vermont Enhanced Board, it pretty much makes it really clear. The justification for existing home road names, the change is typically made for reasons of public welfare and safety, not for a resident's personal preferences. And that's what this seems like to me.
But the road is a private road, right?
It is a private road.
It's not a town road.
That's correct. It still follows private roads, public roads, and everything. And you're talking about changing mailing addresses, 911, ambulance. Once there's numbers on the properties, most towns would put a moratorium on changing. It's really a hard thing to do.
No, we've changed them. We changed it for Perry up on the road he lives on. Right.
Oak Lane.
Yep, it was ABC or something. First.
The enhanced board, which it has to go to, really.
Right. But we've done it, is what I'm saying. We have done it.
So Larry owned property on Mariah Lane. In the past, our zoning administrator was the 911 coordinator. And Marty would always say that it's almost next to impossible. It either has to be public, it can't be someone's personal preference. Everybody who buys a property is going to try to change the road name. And who's going to be paying for this?
Understand what you're saying. I'm just saying we've done it, right? It was Perry and them
not
on
done it too,
Yep.
so
Yep.
you can go
So
both ways you want to go. I mean,
I
maybe
get
you
it.
shouldn't have done it. I mean, that
could be.
If you've read this document, I can give this to you. It's highlighted, and I can give you this here too, the enhanced board, if you'd like to, look into it a little bit deeper. It really should not be an option unless it's a safety or a public concern. And then they also talk about it if it's a 90-degree turn and there's a stop sign. That doesn't have that here.
That wouldn't apply because it's not a public road coming onto it.
I understand that.
It's private to public.
This is a really bad idea, and I would really recommend
I get it that you don't
I would recommend the board. We put a lot of time. We followed the process. We went like the past person did. You guys voted on it. It was the road name, the signs up. He purchased the property knowing it was Sherman Lane. And we have a community member here that had owned a lot of apartments and properties in this area for 60 years, who's paid taxes in this community. And I really don't think we should dip this in the butt right now. It's my recommendation.
I have a question. When did you buy the property?
I'd have to go back, Molly, and see the exact date that we signed for it, but it was last fall. It's been about a year now.
So why didn't you ask to do it last year before no one else had bought the property?
Wow, that's a good question.
Because
I got an answer for that question because we weren't the majority of shareholders. I knew how Faye felt about it.
it kind of is, I think it's a kind of a silly excuse to say majority shareholder because I live on a private road with 2 brothers. And it would just be like them saying, well, we own most of it. We want it to be our name. It's silly. And you're doing it now when someone else is trying to live there. It doesn't really matter that you own.
But the other person isn't moving there yet.
They pay. I think
right. They just bought them.
But they paid
their house on it.
So I did the paperwork and the contracts for Scott and this other person to help Faye out as a friend.
Yeah.
I did not take a commission or anything like that. So he bought it knowing that it was.
No, there's 3 that the Cameron family.
Yeah, and then another girl bought it about a month ago.
Okay.
And all the land records, the deeds and stuff refer to Sherman Lane in the land records.
Yeah, the question was how long ago did the 4th parcel
It was
sell?
a month ago, I just said it.
Yeah.
Our deeds have nothing about Sherman Lane written on them. It's South Pleasant Street.
Have you read her deed yet?
I have not read her deed.
Okay.
He's saying the ones they had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he bought it knowing that it was Sherman Lane.
Sure.
And it wasn't a problem then.
Mrs. Sanchez is happy with Sherman Lane, by the way. She bought the last lot.
Santiago?
Yeah.
There's another parcel owner
That's the
that
fourth
didn't
one.
weigh in.
I think that he meant
did. She
Santiago.
made
He meant
comments.
Santiago, not Sanchez.
No, Santiago said they don't support it.
They support Sherman Lane, right? Sure, yeah, he said Sherman Lane, but yeah.
It is already Sherman Lane.
Right,
There's
yeah,
a sign up there there's numbers on the houses.
There's one house, it's our house.
Yeah, they want to keep it the way it
You
is.
can go into the land records and look at the map, and each one has numbers allotted to it. That's how we had done it from the bottom of the Santiago or
I didn't argue
Sanchez.
that
Says
point. I
Santiago.
understand that.
Yeah, that's the,
They
yeah.
do all have, each
Yeah.
4 lots have a number with Sherman Lane.
She's at
We
17.
did them all the same.
Sherman Lane, Lot 1.
Can I weigh in here from online? This is Kristen Chandler.
Yeah, sure.
I'm the adjoining property owner, and I have lived next to Faye Sherman's land for 15 years, and I supported remaining Sherman Lane for the same reasons that Paul Ray has expertly indicated.
I really don't have a problem this fight. I think
I
the
just-
request is here. It's a lot.
If I could just have a word, I'm sorry. I'm not here to try and cause problems or friction. I understand Faye feels very deeply about this. I knew Dan myself. I graduated with Dan. We were friends. I totally get what's going on, okay? We own 75% of the properties. We pay 75% of the taxes. We're responsible for 75% of that road's maintenance. That road was built when me and Faye made a deal that I was going to buy a property. That's when he started putting the road in with Dean Salts. I don't know when that road would have gone in if I hadn't been in such a hurry to get that house in, because he really hustled with Dean to try and get that road done for me so they could come put my house in. We had a board meeting here before that happened to change the right-of-way. This set me back, I don't know, a month and a half, was it? Paul will probably remember exactly how long it was. He was helping us out with that.
Involved in
But we did a plat revision, which I paid in on, just to change the right-of-way of that road. I wasn't happy with the right-of-way because it was so huge, and I felt that was going to undercut, how much property we could each own. I could go on and on, I guess, with that, but I mean, the bottom line was no, I did not submit a change to the board when we first bought the place. I knew what was going to happen if I did. This right here that's happening now. I didn't want hard feelings between anybody. But there's no Shermans that live there. It's only Camerons. It was Camerons to start with. I'm sorry, not only Camerons. I noticed that. Not only Camerons live there anymore, but the majority is Camerons. We were the first ones there. It's not uncommon for a road to be, or a drive, or a private, whatever you want to call it. I mean, there's all sorts of things, cul-de-sac, I guess, to be named after the first people that developed the place. We paid for it. We paid to have our house put there. Paid a lot of money. My son's planning on putting his house there. His last name's Cameron. He's standing right here. He owns a lot. I've got 2 other kids. One might want to put a house there too. So I totally get why he wants to keep it as Sherman, and I respect that. It would have been nice to maybe have some part of a say in the road naming to start with. I mean, it wasn't really asked. I was told it was going to be Sherman.
So he knew.
That doesn't mean I agreed with it, though. We haven't really been too impressed with it to start with, with the name. I mean, that's why I'm here.
And when you get down to it, he's talking about that family owns 2/3 of it. Well, they do, but there's only one house. The other 2 lots are sitting empty.
My son has put a storage shed on his, but I think that's just
They're building lots, though.
nipping at
I
ears.
remember when this all came forward and you were looking at naming it and changing the right of way, doing some of that.
We did
It was all
everything
part
to
of
the book.
it. Yeah, you did, Paul. I just
Follow
was
the
saying,
process.
there are times when a name change is valid and.
This
and
isn't
that-
one.
I get your view on it.
Can I ask, are there expenses to the town from the change? And
I don't think so.
what's the burden for the town? There must
No,
be
they
some
put-
reason why
they
we
pay
have
for
to
the
weigh
sign.
in.
I mean, I do
The
agree
town
with the part, though, that, I mean, I work with E911 addresses all the time, and if it happened all over the state just at people's whims, there's no justification other than personal, that it would be chaotic.
And I totally understand that point too, but I wonder how many other times somebody owns 75% of the property.
My neighbors own 66% of our hill, and I'm not fighting to change the name, and they aren't either. And it was phased to begin with, and he developed it. If he didn't develop it, you wouldn't have a lot to buy.
No, but
if he didn't develop it, you wouldn't have a lot to
He
buy.
wouldn't have developed it at the time he developed it if it wasn't for me pushing.
No, that's untrue. I've been involved in this for 5 years in getting state permits, subdivision, getting surveyors, septic designs. That's not true. There's a lot of money spent up front. It's not cheap to subdivide in Vermont. That's why Faye asked me to do it for him. And he's a friend, and I have a lot of respect for him. And he also helped finance it so that a young Vermonter could purchase the property too, which
So, Scott, have you looked at the E911 rules that Paul is talking about?
I may have. I've looked at a lot of information over the last couple of weeks.
Would you like the opportunity to evaluate them? And if you feel like there's a good case to be made or more that you'd like to supplement, bring it back to the board next month.
I could. I mean, is there no decision to be made tonight?
We can make a decision, but I think it's not going in your favor if I'm following the conversation correctly.
Okay.
I'm not getting the impression that everybody's convinced the name changes is warranted.
I guess I'm curious as to how that works when, I mean, it's not a public road. I mean, I feel like this is like part of my belonging. I mean, we're paying for it.
Unfortunately, the state sets certain things that towns have to do, and naming roads is one of them. And then we have to follow a guidance document that's published
I understand
for
that.
E911.
Yep, and it has to meet the 911 standards, correct?
Well, and what we would have to do is look at the criteria under which you can change a road name and what those are, and then see if your reasons for wanting to change it match up to the criteria that the state has set.
Okay.
I think you heard, if everybody moved on to a new street and wanted to change the name, then we've got a bigger issue. And some of these roads that are private roads only have one resident, so it's pretty easy to get everybody in unison on a new name. But I think it might be worth you looking at that criteria and what you want to do and see if you can match.
So after I look at that criteria, how do you exactly do you suggest we move forward? I'm not understanding.
I think if you feel like you can make a case of why the town should do it based on the criteria the state has for when you can change it, then we come back in and, submit that. And come back in and we'll look at it.
I can certainly do that, yes. I'm honestly a little miffed, to be honest with you, but yes, I can look at that information.
Yep. I understand the desire to have the name. I totally get it. And I can see why other people want to, and we have changed it in cases for other people, and I think one of the reasons we changed from ABC to Oak had something to do with ABC is used as a test a lot of times in systems, and they were afraid that might fail when it was put into dispatch and things like that. But, just look at that criteria and see if there's a way to do that.
Okay.
Anybody have anything further on this one?
It is a private road. How is the easement set up too? Like, is it?
it's on the survey, it's in the land records. It's part of the permit
They're
too.
shared.
shared in it.
So shared amongst
There's a
all of
maintenance
them.
agreement about how it gets shared.
Hi, this is Leanne. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Sorry, I'm at soccer and I don't have service, so I use someone's phone to call in. But I just wanted to make sure that I was able to just say hi to everybody and that I'm in favor of keeping the road as Sherman Road, or Sherman Lane.
Okay, we got that off the note in the file.
Okay, perfect.
What we're doing is we're going to just move it along here and give the Camerons a chance to look at the E911 rules and see if the reason they want to change it can match up to those piece, and if they can, we'll take it up next month.
Okay, great. I will mute so that I'm not loud, sorry.
We're going on to the next agenda item so you can go back to the game.
Okay, sorry. Thank you.
So the rule is that justification to ensure efficient emergency response is the requirement.
Yeah. It's a tough one to get over. Although we've done it.
That document also talks about the process, about the warnings that it's got to have it, so it's got to be warned and stuff for the road name change, and that it should be sent out to all the landowners, like certified mail and stuff like that too. It can't be just like put on a select board and agenda. It does talk about the warnings and stuff like that that are necessary that the select board has to do. I don't know if it's done at a select board meeting, has an agenda item, because like somebody could miss it, like the Shermans, if they don't have stuff online, if they're not aware, people should get like something sent to them and not leave it up to Mr. Cameron to go speak to the people about it. I would just like to see the process followed.
Yep. There's also rules about what is considered notice.
Absolutely.
And that can be actually.
That talks about it and stuff like that. So I would really like that to be followed.
All right, we are moving on the agenda because we're not going to get a decision tonight. So we'll deal with what the process is next month if we have to. Budget committee request to define the committee's.
Paul, do you want this back? I can print this off.
I highlighted the pertinent places to make it a lot easier for you.
Thank you.
Yep. Is the town? Does somebody want to? I'll leave it here.
I was going to say, Trini's got it.
Yeah.
Oh, not Trini.
Highlighted. It's pretty clear.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm Ken Heffer. I'm the new chair of the budget committee.
There's very few of you, right?
I guess what we're asking is, we're elected by the people of the town of Randolph to assist the select board with anything related to the budget. In the past, we spent a lot of time going over the report, each monthly report, to see where things are out of kilter with what the proposed budget or the budget is. And the spending's different. But with no finance director, we have no reports. And when we kind of asked informally to the select board, what is it you would like us to be doing? Do you want us to be working on developing the budget, or is that something you want to do? Or it kind of got us, we don't know. So we had two members that just said, this is ridiculous. We can't get a definition of what this town would like us to do. So they've resigned. The select board is supposed to have a liaison to the budget committee.
We do, right?
No, you don't.
I was last year, and then when I said,
You bailed?
I did. Because I just felt like I wasn't being useful, really.
That was about something else.
I don't think so.
That would be a good start. So we have.
Well, I think,
we have somebody to talk to that,
So you submitted to us like 2 or 3 different types of ways it could be set up.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And I don't really really want to dig into the details of that because I think they really need it. You need a small working group to look at these and dig into sort of what is that, what is the information flow, what's, kind of a better, I read one of these and I was like, oh, that isn't even really defined well. And I'm not volunteering, so don't get ahead of me. But you need a much clearer, what's the expectation?
Right.
And you do have the motions that were made, and it's actually talks about the town manager providing information on the budget development and you guys just providing feedback to the select board on things you think. And then you would get financial reports and provide comments or concerns to the board. But I think you need to create like even a couple, you get a lot further with just a few people sitting there talking about that to get a framework, and then you can.
Well, what we're asking is to develop that framework.
Right.
We need an idea of what it is you want us to be doing to help you.
Yeah, and I think you've given us some good examples here. Like, what do you have, Fairleigh and I forgot who the other one was.
Middlesex.
Middlesex. Is there anybody that would sit down with Ken and draft sort of what this committee should do?
Yeah, I think before we go down the road, we should consider the idea that this committee was created at town meeting. It's not really it's not a creature of the select board. And I'm not sure how much authority we really have over changing what was, instituted at a town meeting, town-wide vote.
I don't know that it's even changing, Larry. It's like, where's the data flow? What's the expectation?
Well, they're asking us what their duties should be and what
And those are in here.
And it is in there. So, what the budget committee is tasked with doing is spelled out pretty clearly, and it seems like we have a couple of different issues. One is on more recent issues, which is we haven't had a finance director to provide reports that you can actually use to do your work, so you're kind of stuck. And until we have a finance director who can provide the reports, which used to be provided on a regular basis. I was the liaison to the budget committee for a while, a few years ago, and I saw those reports come in. I saw the budget committee review them and do their role as spelled out in the town meeting document. So we don't have much control over that until we have a new finance director. And then the other part of it, I think, is that I think the budget committee has often felt, even when things were going the way they're supposed to go, unsure of how they are supposed to be effective and how their input is manifests in the bigger process. And so I think that's gets to the original task of the budget committee and what they're supposed to do. I think the budget committee is in kind of a tough spot because traditionally, at least I shouldn't say traditionally, in the last several years since I've been familiar with their operations, they've served mostly as an oversight committee, right? Really just looking at what's provided by the town, making sure it's another set of eyes to make sure that our money is flowing in the ways that it's supposed to, that things are happening above board, and that there's nothing jumping out as being egregiously wrong with the process. And I think the budget committee has done that well, but it's a kind of a passive role. You only really jump to action if something wrong is happening, and that's very unusual. And the other parts of the budget committee's roles, as listed in the town meeting document, are presenting to the select board once a quarter, which in my 8 years plus now on the select board, I'm not sure I've ever seen the budget committee come in with a formal presentation of what they've been up to. I think it's really...
They did once. They came in to talk about, because they disagreed with something. But it was only like
I don't want to sound like I'm faulting the budget committee. I don't think it's the fault of the budget committee. I think it's a task that the budget committee is like, well, we're not seeing anything that's wrong, so why would we go in front of the select board and give a presentation if we have no really good reason to do so. So that aspect of it has become mostly moot, although it could certainly be used if there was reason to use it. I guess what I'm saying is I think the budget committee members are in kind of an awkward spot in terms of feeling like people get on the budget committee because they want to give to the town, they want to volunteer, they want to be useful, and what they find when they get on the budget committee is that they don't get that kind of I'm not sure what the word I'm looking for is. They don't get that kind of feedback in terms of feeling useful because they're just like, oh, we spend all this time looking through all these numbers and we don't really do anything with it.
So the Exhibit D that Ken included, the part about the budget committee, I think captures that. Where they need the capital budget is the part that's not defined in the the movements, and we kind of added it in there when we merged the two groups together. I think that's one of the ones that's missing structure and definition for it.
Well, even for that, I mean, when they did away with the capital budget or the capital committee, it was kind of, well, maybe the budget committee can handle it, but no one ever says, what is it you want us to do in terms of the capital budget? I see on your agenda, you've got initial discussions of the fiscal 27 budget. Do you want input from us?
Yeah, and that's part of the role that's listed in the original creation of the committee, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah.
But I mean, if you're discussing it now, no one's told us yet what it is you want from us.
Well, I think right now.
And this is.
Yeah, go on, Trevor.
Yeah, I mean, one of the challenges with any budget committee anywhere is a disconnect between operations, which are what the budget fund, and those operations are how we provide services. So some of this, when we get on budget writing paths, when we're setting priorities, we're trying to figure out what stuff costs, we're tying it into operations. And there just isn't that connection. There never is. You're the body that has that connective tissue, so then we end up doing the same tasks over and over and over again with limited staffing. And so at a certain level, it's I just wanted to make that disconnect sort of pretty clear. Some of this, I'm the body that goes if anybody goes, and I don't always have the time
for
this, and then we end up doing it two, 3 times over. And so it's your budget at the end of the day that gets presented to the voters, so we ask you what your priorities are. I mean, that's why that's structurally like that.
Interesting enough, though, this article doesn't say, it says that a draft budget will be given to the budget committee for comment. It doesn't think through them providing feedback on, what priorities, it doesn't give you that role at the start, it gives you that role after the budget's developed. Yeah. Here you can have the draft budget and the documents, it says, that are used to develop it. Seems like by then, the budget development is way down the road.
Yeah.
So I see what you're saying, though. If we said this is where your role is, if we're already a few weeks from voting it in, and then you get it to give us comments with a whole stack of, and here's all the renditions we had.
Well, actually, that's a good question then, is which version of the budget do they get? Do they get the first draft? Or do they get the one that, that's basically everything but a yes vote from the select board?
But it doesn't say.
That's why we're asking for clarification on things.
Yeah, no, and this is part of why this has been such a challenging committee to be on, I think, for all these years.
It just says they're supposed to review the proposed budget and bring recommendations to the select board in joint discussions for their actions. And then you'll review expense revenue reports for comments and concerns, which is after. I think it's a valid question. I do realize it's in here and it's an article and the town voters voted on it, but I do think it's a valid question of exactly where do you fit in the process. But I think it's more than just this is your role. I think it's you almost got to have a flow chart of it, right? right? Like, of what the budget committee's going to do, what the expectation is, right? And how that's going to merge into the process of the budget being developed.
Right, and that's kind of what we're asking is, you know, I mean, one of the proposals, you know, was kind of more detailed and getting into things. That one, I actually wrote that one, but it was based on, you know, some of the information from the other towns. But, you know, knowing that that's really detailed and probably not what people want, but it was for a starting point.
Is the one you wrote the Exhibit D, the Budget Committee bylaws?
Yeah.
But those pieces under the Budget Committee duties are accurate.
Right.
You know, it's more, I think the way you presented the capital improvement plan is laying out all the different pieces that somebody needs to think about, probably this board, and say, what do we want?
Yeah.
Right? What do we want coming out of this? Or what's that piece?
Do you want us meeting with you when you're developing the budget? Or do you want us to wait until you've got it developed and then say we recommend or don't recommend it too?
But I think then there's the other balance too, right? Like, so there's the meetings that Trevor has with each of the departments where they're working on the nitty gritty of their budget. And I don't think that's a role, right? I think there's that administrative role that Trevor has to get his pieces together. And then I can see once that's been worked through a few renditions and kind of honed in, where it might make sense to come and have that conversation about, like, here's some pain points, here's some places that, how do we get around this? How do we do these type of things? Looking for more ideas. And
So could I at least ask that we appoint a liaison to the budget committee?
When do they meet? When do you guys meet?
Excuse me?
What days do you guys meet?
Right now we're meeting quarterly on the 4th Tuesday, which is next Tuesday. And we're meeting quarterly because we can't get, with no finance director, there's nobody for us to look at. And once we get a finance director, we'll probably go back to monthly.
Tuesdays, or Tuesday nights.
Why isn't there a finance director? That seems to be a
there's no
issue.
applications. We've been recruiting for it for almost a year now.
So no one wants to take that role on.
Hey, I applied.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. It's nuanced. And this wouldn't be the right venue to talk about candidates.
There's a list of duties that need to be done. They're not all financial. They require some other stuff. But I agree with you, right? Like when you're staffed, full staffed, everything flows a lot smoother.
Yeah.
When you're not, certain things have to go, and and sometimes even I wanted to report on something and I call, and Trevor's nice enough to get in the system and Jerry rig it out for me. But do we have anybody that wants to sit on this committee that would also be willing to sit down with them and figure out kind of what that looks like?
I can't meet on Tuesday nights. So.
Is it Tuesday nights you meet?
Tuesday night, 5:30, right here. This is 4th Tuesday.
Once a quarter.
Just once a quarter.
No takers.
I'm already water, wastewater, and planning commission.
You are on the planning commission?
No, I'm the planning commission liaison.
Molly, were you on the budget?
I was, and I took myself off of it when we were going back through after town meeting, because I really felt like I wasn't doing anything. Though I went to the meetings my first year, and it was a lot of looking at numbers, but then like, well, what do we do? And Trevor was at most all of the meetings, and he was able to inform the board or the committee about, or like answer questions when they had it. I'm not gonna lie to you, I just don't have an interest in the budget committee, and I feel like in order to be a liaison, you should probably have some kind of interest in it so that you're a helpful member or person there, you know?
Yeah, but, kind of a lot of what we would like would be, something that's, say, what does the select board think of this idea or whatever, to give us some feedback or to be able to take it back to the full select board.
Yep. Be that liaison. Okay, we'll owe you that. I don't know who it'll be, but we'll owe you that.
Okay.
Okay. And that individual should work with you to figure out sort of information flow and process and where you plug in.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. We're going to move on to the next agenda item, but I'll work on that for you.
Okay, appreciate it.
Grant application requests. We have a northern.
No, G.
Oh, I just.
Don't skip me.
I skipped.
I'm so patient.
I had already crossed his item up and I was moving it. Our ACDC request. So we have all of that in the packet.
I did notice in the packet that the work plan that was pasted in there was blank. Which it wasn't what I emailed, so I don't know if something got corrupted because it is a PDF form.
Apparently it did. Mark brought that to my attention. In my email, it's all filled out.
Yeah.
The PDF, it's all filled out. In your packet, it's not.
It's blank, yeah. I mean, I can just quickly give you a rundown of my plans.
You know, it's funny
if you
because I
want,
was
but
looking at it and I was like, why would you only take this small amount of money and have to fill these forms out all the time? I thought they were like blanks that come with a grant and you got to like report up all that.
Yeah.
Mark does have a filled out copy with him.
I could just tell you that, and I don't want to step on your toes, it's a non-competitive grant that's annually paid out to the designated downtown organization. So our ACDC has done all their work. It's a low barrier. Every downtown organization receives this. The application is complete. They're a good standing organization with the state. Everything has been done appropriately. And it is designed to be given without hesitation.
And the work plan that I put in here with budget numbers and detailed reporting metrics and all of that was approved by the state also. So, I've already begun work on all of these things, and including accruing bills, but I cannot receive the first installment of the money until the select board signs this thing saying that you say we're doing a good job with the program. So,
all right. So can you tell us a little about what
my plan is? Yeah. So well, that's what I was prepared when I saw it was blank. I was like, oh man, okay. Like I want to come in and. So there's 4 goals for this that are based on the Main Street America program, and it's economic vitality, promotions, design, and organization. And then the state of Vermont is actually every year now they're adding a 5th goal for us, which is a shared goal, and it's usually something marketing related where all the downtowns put together materials and then we kind of put them together. Last year we all did itineraries about our downtowns that are going to go on the Vermont Tourism website, so it's like 72 hours in Randolph and what you would do and where you would stay and different activities, and every designated downtown has those. Randolph has not been loaded yet, which I noted. I went to check on it. But this year the shared goal is to also again work with the Vermont Tourism Department to do more do more marketing in their inspiration guide, they call it. They do this big glossy magazine that gets sent out for tourism purposes all over, and they want us all to do ads, which are expensive, so it's nice that we get this funding to kind of pay for that because otherwise, I'd take out like a postage size ad versus, a good like sixth of a page ad. But yeah, so that's the shared goal stuff. Promotions is, doing posters in welcome centers and brochures. I just came up with a new one. This is what I've been working on this summer. I have these new trifold brochures that I've done about Randolph, which have a simplified version of my restaurant chart and then a downtown map with all our downtown businesses in it. You guys are welcome to have some of these if you want.
Can I see a copy of that, actually?
Yeah. And then for my design goals this year, I have a huge, ambitious project, which is I want to light up the downtown for the holidays, and I'm working with Kate Kaufman from Grease and Glitter Studios, and we have managed to score an amazing deal on lighted garland, and I've been already talking with business owners on Main Street so we can light up all the storefronts, including One Main. I got Fisher Auto Parts agreed to let us light up One Main. So that's a go. That's a huge undertaking. I've been chasing people all over, but that's part of the funding for this. And then economic vitality. I'm also working with Kate, who is a professional merchandiser, and she helps stores do like layouts and window displays to increase traffic and increase sales. And she's worked with like the Cabot Cheese store. She's currently working on a project to redo all of the cabins at the Trapp Family Lodge. She's been a merchandiser for like West Elm and other like big name stores, so she knows what she's doing. So this would fund consultations with downtown store owners to help them, increase sales and be more vibrant and all of that. So these are my plans that the state approved, and hopefully you guys think those are worthy objectives.
How much money is this, Erica?
It's $25,000 total.
This is amazing.
Oh, thank you.
This is really done.
I did it myself. Yeah.
Did you put those up at the hotel?
Yep. They have the restaurant charts too. I've been working with them a lot to put everything up at the hotel. They love it. They're very excited about all of this stuff. They have all my business cards too, so that anytime they run out, they can call me and let me know and bring more up. But yes, hopefully you guys, should I pass this around for signature? Any questions?
I like it.
We need a motion to approve it.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. You can just send it around and you can pick it up on this side.
Thank you.
Now we'll look at the Northern Borders Catalyst Program grant. Trevor, you're on.
Is he on vacation? Just kidding.
Looks like you got all done.
There's a hand tower out there.
Hang on, he's texting.
I'm getting further away, Judy.
This is actually Mark.
Okay. What do you have for questions on this, and how?
What is it? What do you want to do?
Okay, so this is for a downtown redevelopment feasibility study. That is for a multi-parcel mixed-use redevelopment, and the Northern Borders has a small portion of their funding allocated for feasibility studies, and unfortunately or fortunately, we're in a category where there's a 50% match for the funding. However, it's still a fairly good amount of funding. We have the opportunity to be able to do research for site planning, for property acquisition, for environmental review, and also infrastructure planning. And so it gives us an opportunity to really do a deep dive into some ideas for a project, and we we think it's worthy of continuing down that path.
What's the actual project, though, that you want to fund?
Well,
And where do we get the 50%?
Well, that's a great question. I think Trevor can speak a little bit on how the match might work, but the project, I guess I want to be somewhat careful the way I bring this up. We haven't spoken to the property owners in some of these cases, and I'd rather not mention their names right now without having had that opportunity to do so. But it is in the downtown, and it is a significant portion of the downtown in terms of those properties. And I will say we have a few spaces that are vacant, so one might be able to surmise which the bigger ones are, and so it'll give us the opportunity to really spend 6 or 8 months to dive deep and see what those options are, so we have a sense of we can achieve some of our longer term goals without losing the opportunity to someone else who might come in and make some purchases.
But okay, I get that, but what is it that you actually, what's the deliverable in the end of this?
Well, the deliverable is to...
What's the deep dive?
Yeah, the deep dive is this is in fact a feasibility study to determine if it makes sense for the town to acquire a few properties downtown in pursuit of a certain long-term endeavor. Yeah, so Trevor, help out here.
So it wouldn't necessarily be all acquisition. We might acquire one of them and then the other two, the existing landowners go in. So what the feasibility, the site plan design, some initial stormwater identification, parking flows, looking at zoning regulations, how high could a building be if you moved, you built up, you moved, you replaced one. So it provides a feasibility if you were to redesign, say, a 3-parcel block. What are some of the possibilities? It doesn't necessarily mean that we would own the whole block, kind of thing. There could be public-private partnerships, and then we would be able to identify from there what's that look like, where can we help, what the funding mechanisms. So it drives some decision-making on our end in terms of what can we reasonably do to assist. Are there other projects of our own that we want to go into it? So some of this is, could extend, extensions onto our own building to house certain critical services that are in buildings with historic charm, for example. So we might be able to pull off a few different things all at once coming out of this. So it's really about what's the potential for that block, what are some of the basic standards for it, and what are the right relationships for it. So it could be, who owns what is almost a later kind of proposition. It's really what's possible, and can we get an order of magnitude as to what has to happen.
And what's the dollar amount that you're...
Great question. So we've applied for $50,000, which would require a $50,000 match in this case. And
coming from...
Yep, that's a great question. Trevor, would you be okay talking a little bit about some ideas for the match?
Yeah, right now primarily we're looking at, we've got a grant fund that's got some leftover funds. We want to make sure they don't have another home, but that would provide the match. We're just trying to figure out that we fully understand the origin of those funds. So there's a little bit of a balance in one of our grant funds. This seems to be unassigned, unrestricted, and we would look to flip that over. And we'll know that sooner than later, certainly before any grant awards are made. So that's the primary one. If not, based on timelines, we may have to look to other sources, throw it into budgets. So there's a few different ways we could figure that one out.
I have a question. It seems like you're pursuing this, and I understand the whole process and the grants and the getting permission to apply and all of that. But if you haven't talked to the property owners yet, that's just a question. It seems like that should have happened first.
In the words of John Bennett from the Breakfast Club, it's an imperfect world. Screws fall out all the time. We're doing the best we can with the timelines we have.
Sometimes you gotta act quick and put the application in. It doesn't mean we've been awarded, and it doesn't mean we've accepted. So I think that's kind of
Yeah, no, I
where
get
we're
that.
at
It's
is
a
that-
timeline and all of that. It's
and
just one of those.
And we don't have to identify the match to apply. Right.
Well, we have to say we have it. So yeah, we do
But
have
we-
to.
We have to say that we have it, but we don't. We're not committing ourselves to it at the moment. Is what I'm.
We don't have to accept a grant. Just because we get awarded doesn't mean we have to accept it.
Yeah.
Doesn't look very good if we don't. And it impacts, this is Northern Borders, which is a funding source we'd like to go back to again and again. So we should be pretty sure that we have the money and we're able to match it and interested in accepting before we apply. But
When is the application due? Sorry.
usually we get a little more.
End of the month, and one of the things we might try to run down is a better order of magnitude cost for some of the site planning. So we might just reach out to a sort of a soft, hey, if we were going to do this type of project, have these components, what have you seen? So just sort of ring the bell of a few of the firm service providers who do these types of studies, have done them in other communities, maybe as part of, say, TIF redevelopment projects or similar downtown redevelopment projects, and figure out if we're low, high, in the right spot. But we're trying to base it on what we think this type of thing might cost based on our own experience and what we can find from that of others, but it's still a mildly educated best guess at best.
Yep.
The circumstances around this are obviously different, but you don't want to find yourselves in the situation that Walk Bike Roll was in, where we applied for a grant and can't, we're sort of in limbo, can't accept it, so it makes sense to.
Trevor, can the board approve the concept of this and contingent upon us getting more details and a kind of a roadmap of sort of what the dollar amount is and what the
So the question is, you're approving the application. That's sort of the action item. So if you want to make it contingent on us running down other things, you can certainly structure it that way. We're not committing to anything. We haven't accepted anything. It's not like the Beacon thing at all. It's on its own trajectory.
Usually with grant applications and whatnot, it's nice to see like what the project is you're proposing, what the budget is, and kind of what the funding is that's going to match it, so we know. Totally support the concept of it. Just it's the how much are we getting into and where's that money coming from? That's the scope I'm nervous about. We're headed into some tight times. And I think we're going to have more property taxes that are going to not get paid. We're just going to slow down.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Judy.
Talking about we're headed into tighter times statewide, and we're probably going to head into an increase in people not able to pay their property tax because we saw it this past year. I'm just wanting, for me to be comfortable to vote for it and say, yeah, go ahead and submit it, I'd just like to better understand, what are you planning to do? What's the actual budget for it? And how are we paying for it?
Yeah, and remember the feasibility study is sort of phase one in a planning process.
But you got to pay for the feasibility study.
Well,
That's what I want to see.
We do have to invest in part of that, but in this case, the grant is also offloading a big half of the cost for this. We as a community we have a charge of actually building a plan for our future in terms of economic development. We have a charge for thinking about that future, and that requires a little bit of investment. A $50,000 investment in terms of looking deeper into the downtown, looking deeper into filling the needs that the town faces, which is a substantial shortage in housing, a substantial shortage in some of the commercial development that we have in the community. The buildings they're old, they run down. Some of them just need to be raised completely. What we're asking in this case is we have a funder in this grant that's willing to give us that $50,000, we are matching that, but we are investing in the town's future. I don't think that we should think about the tax liabilities that we're facing because of what you've heard tonight and completely not look at the longer term. I do understand what you're saying, but the whole idea behind a feasibility study is to be able to for us to actually learn and get the information that we need to make long-term decisions that are sound for our residents and for the community and for the town to be able to grow. And we are in dire need of that. So,
But I gotta, sitting here, what I would like to know is, where's the match money coming from? We don't have a line item in our budget that's match money for feasibility studies.
we don't.
So where's that dollar coming from? And what are you not going to do that was in the budget to get that money if it's not sitting in the grant fund Trevor talked about?
So I think we got some homework to go away with. You want a better budget, you want us to identify the match or match sources, see if we can't confirm the cost of a feasibility study a little bit better, and then we'll better build out both the scope and the cost, and we'll continue some of the other outreach. We'll try to get that done before, I think the deadline's somewhere around the end of September, 3rd of October. It's one of those. It's upcoming. We'll do the best we can to get there. So if you did make a motion, be contingent on us doing all those things, and we'll report back in October. And if we haven't done, we can pull everything back if you want, or we can essentially withdraw our application at that time. And at least that way we don't miss a deadline. Or we can, there's plenty of other stuff to do, so it's...
As a downtown business owner, I had heard about this idea with it not having a match, and I was in full support of that, but having $50,000 match, I'm kind of a little bit on the fence too. Because we keep investing in the new and shiny and ignoring the things that are there, and then they're dying, and our downtown it's on the cusp of dying. And so what are we doing for the businesses that exist now so they don't fall down? Like, what can we do with that $50,000 that would actually support what we already have, instead of chasing something new and shiny that might not develop for 5 to 10 years? Because we have to go through the feasibility plan, and then we have to do, this isn't like next summer we're going to be acting on something that's going to help our downtown. So I'm a little hesitant to approve it, given the fact that we have to have such a large match without better answers of where that money's coming from and what else we could be doing to help hold up what we already have and not let that fall.
I totally hear that. I think that there's never a good time to spend money like this. Like ever since I've been on the board, and I know before, town budgets have always been really tight. Part of the result of that is sometimes we don't take advantage of opportunities that cause us to, or enable us to grow long term in really positive ways. There's that expression, like it's really expensive to be poor, and this is kind of one of those places. And I think that sometimes we have to kind of reach a little bit and decide that we're going to try and go for something that might have unknown effects, but potentially could be really, really positive in the long term. If we don't do it now, who knows when we would do it? We might not have an opportunity to have a match of this magnitude for a long time. I don't know if waiting for the right time is going to, might never pan out that there's a right time. Like that of saying, like, people who wait to have children until it's the right time and they never have kids, right? It's like that. It's that kind of a thing, and it's not a tiny amount of money, of course, but it's not a gigantic amount of money either. It's not going to change the trajectory. The amount of money is not going to change the trajectory that Randolph is on, but the results of the feasibility study might. If it comes back with real tangible ideas and ways for us to go about changing the how some core parts of our downtown are laid out, and really gives us a new base for a new round of revitalization that I think we really need.
But you still got to figure out where's it coming from.
And what are you taking away?
What are we not going to do? What are we
Right,
not going to
so-
spend 50,000 on
Right,
to
so
put it towards matching this?
I would be inclined to go along with Trevor's proposal that he just gave us, where he said, he will come back to us and identify that, and in the meanwhile, allow him to put in the application. And our next meeting will be not long after the application would have been put in, so if we did decide that we don't want to go down that path, we'd be able to at that time. We wouldn't have committed ourselves to anything. Going backwards won't cost us very much, but we wouldn't be losing the opportunity.
Or the information could be shared with us in advance and give feedback.
Oh, the information should absolutely be shared with us as it comes in, but we wouldn't be able to do anything on it as a board until.
But we ought to be able to speak up and be like, whoa, that you can't take from there. Like, if the answer is we're gonna.
We can't do that much of that
big.
because like we would be we can't have a discussion on an agenda item before our
So
next
we need a
meeting.
special meeting.
We could have a special meeting.
in a while.
I just get nervous that we approve an application with this $50,000. It's a lot of money, and it's got to come from somewhere. So I don't know. There's some funds sitting there that Trevor talked about in a grant that didn't get used that doesn't have any strings attached and can be part of the match. So what's the balance, and then where's that coming from? We're not flushing cash, so.
Or in time too. I think staff hours are limited as well, and so that's where my hesitancy is. Like, what other ways could we? I would just want to know where that money's coming from, what's being taken away in order to achieve this,
and how many labor hours is it? Right? Like,
yeah, and how could those hours be used differently to make sure, like, in all honesty, Main Street's about to go completely black here really soon. And so we're going to be back to where we were, I would say, in the next 6 to 8 months. So why are we chasing over the new project when everyone's failing and we're just going to let them fail? Like, what? There's a trade-off there for sure. And I don't know if this is... Yeah, I don't know. Could we use those hours and this money to do something different that would actually keep us going without?
I think a portion of it is money that's earmarked towards is a grant and is funding that can be used as match. I don't know that we can do something different with that. It's what's the difference?
Well, is there like other
and the labor hours?
Yeah.
Right? Is there? Labor hours. It's going to take Mark's time to oversee a study like this, and could those hours be out promoting the existing? Because we're
or finding other grants to help support whatever is already there too.
Which is kind of what we just approved. Or we just did a letter of support for some of that, but that's not going to go very far.
Right.
Mine's 25 with no match, so
yeah.
We love
This
those
is apples and oranges, folks. It's not the same.
We're talking about promoting the downtown, so I think it's valid, right?
I'm saying they're just two different.
Your grant is different than hers, and we get that. The conversation was around, are your labor hours as the economic development person for the town better used to go promote the existing businesses and get more people into downtown and whatnot? And part of the answer was we just approved a grant to help do that.
Yeah.
Which we did, but it's not enough, right? Like, what do we? I get what the thing is. And so does the feasibility study have to be just those properties, or can it be the entire downtown and looking at all of it?
That's a good question. The application is focused on looking at the entire downtown, but also with an eye towards the properties. Stephanie made a comment about the downtown going black, and with an eye on the properties that may in fact be those types in question. And so it's not going to be the entire downtown, but rather, our entire downtown is pretty darn small, so it's a significant portion of it, the feasibility study already.
Do you have a scope written for this, for the grant, of what you want? What do you actually want the consultant that does the study?
Yep. So the project purpose is, which I read earlier, The proposed study will guide site planning, property acquisition, environmental review, infrastructure planning with the objective of transforming contiguous parcels into a reimagined, revitalized mixed-use development, integrating commercial spaces, housing, and public amenities. That's essentially, that is the broad scope. I mean, it goes into much further detail in terms of strategic alignment. It goes into much further detail on other things, but that's the broad scope of the feasibility study. And you're talking about the hours associated with my time. A significant portion of that grant funding will be towards hiring professionals who are trained to help us with that study. It's not my study. We're hiring.
Right, but you gotta have time. You have time.
Of course,
that you're
of course
working
that we
with
do.
them, that you're doing project oversight, that you're getting data for it, you're providing feedback.
We manage 24 grants. I can tell you that there's capacity to do this, or I wouldn't bring it to the table. We've spent 3 years figuring out we've built a process for grant applications. We've built a process for managing those grants. We've come so far in the past 3 years that I wouldn't come before you with an idea if I didn't think that we had the capacity to manage it. That's the whole, that I can promise you that wouldn't happen. And this isn't something that's in place of the other downtown work that we're doing. This is in addition to, but I can understand the point that you're making about the troubles that the downtown is facing. And Randolph isn't unique in terms of downtowns and their struggles. But this is not something that's going to take the place of the work that we're currently doing. It's prudent planning. For what we do is we do planning for the short term, the intermediate term, and the long term, and that's what this is. But I do understand your questions, and we need to figure out exactly where the match is coming from.
Can we take your scope, your mission, your, one statement, and expand it so it's not just, those items are very focused on that 3-parcel section, and expand it so it's looking at that as a part, as a way of supporting existing and future business, like
we are
building it into a plan also of like how do you have goals, but then how do you also do something that, like, I'd have to think about how I would word it, but it does. I think some of what Stephanie's saying isn't getting captured there, and that is the whole, how do you do, what do we do? What's the strategy? What's the plan to basically get more people into the downtown to support the businesses that are there and the creation of additional businesses that people want to see?
So we've partnered with the Department of Marketing and Tourism for 2 years now, and we've received a substantial amount of investment to help bring in, to do the very thing that you're talking about. We've partnered with Gifford, and we've partnered on several ways to bring people into the community, to invite them to see the way that we live, why Randolph is an exciting place to be. And just today, I'm the president of the board of Chandler. Chandler has also worked with the Department of Marketing and Tourism, and in partnership with Gifford on this. We just today we received notice of $107,000 that we received for this very purpose, to show people why Randolph and the surrounding area is a good quality place to live. And we did this through Chandler. Because Chandler is one of the biggest draws we have in our community. Chandler's been if you look at any sort of marketing and tourism material that's that's about central Vermont, Chandler is at the very epicenter of all of that. And we proved to the Department of Marketing and Tourism over the last 2 years that we were a worthy place to invest. some of the only people that receive this funding are RPCs, okay? We're one of the few. So this is, to your point, we are focusing on ways to bring people into the community. We are focusing, and that is a huge win for us in our community. So it's not that we're not that we're not doing those things. The challenges that we see in our downtown community are not unique to just Randolph. It's demographic changes. Our community is facing enormous shifts in terms of the age of population in our community. It's very complicated, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't be focusing on the longer term. You can't change a downtown community and turn it into and continue building only focusing on the here and now. You have to think about the bigger picture.
But I think what is missing, and I think this is where Stephanie's going some too, is what do we need in the downtown, right? Like, let's not say we have Chandler, because that's the here and now. And I get it that, listen to me please, I get it that Chandler's a big focus, but we heard at some of the employers that we've met with, that I've met with, I've been in different meetings with, that people don't listen to their employees and their future, the people they're trying to attract, on what attracts them to a community. What do they want to see in a community they're willing to come live in and take the jobs at some of these employers we have? I think sometimes we go at this the same way and we get the same result and we get nothing out of it.
That's a great question.
I'd love to see us go at this from a whole different perspective of from the employer perspective of the employees they're trying to attract, and from the people that we want to attract into the community, that we want to try to get here. What do they want to see here? Not what do they like about what we have, and can we sell you on what we have? Where do we need to go? What types of things do we need to attract? What recreation opportunities do we need? That's the angle that.
And that's exactly what's done as part of the feasibility study. The community involvement is substantial, and it's deep.
This is what we're trying to get out of you.
Yeah, well,
I have a survey from last year of what the community wants in our downtown, like as far as businesses and things like that.
We got to get to the employers.
Yeah.
What are they trying to attract? So we met with one of them. They bring engineers in. They can't get engineers to come here because they don't have the types of things they want. The housing wasn't the biggest issue we heard. It was that there's nothing in the community that they want. They're not into the Chandler. They're not into some of the other things, and a few of the things they liked, but it's those type, I think, that we've got to go at.
100%.
If we're going to keep them, it's that data.
And
so this is why it's nice to have a draft of the application to review before we come in, so we're not sitting here trying to pull, like, what exactly are you trying to do? What are you?
Trainee Trevor would like to speak.
Hey, Trevor.
I actually forgot. Yes, you can have that. Sorry. Yeah, that was a few trains ago. No, I think with this grant, just go back a few points. What you want for the Catalyst grant was we can expand sort of the footprint if you remember.
Can you shift your video
an
up?
opportunity to kind of expand to some other downtown. We look to see if we can pull that one up and try to incorporate some of those sites, so those are existing sites, building redevelopment, see if maybe there's something we can draw from that. Those have already been publicly vetted, at least to some extent, that there was a presentation and a little bit of outreach and effort, so it wouldn't be reinventing the wheel or something brand new. So that could be a way to take this Catalyst program, which is sort of, it might be focused a little bit on the newer or the shinier, making something shinier, then broaden its scope. And then there might be some other programs that are better suited to kind of master planning effort that we're talking about. If we're talking about some of these pieces in terms of how do you make sure you're balancing the want and the need in some ends all together. Those opportunities could be coming up, and we could try to build something for you guys to look at for one of those.
I think it's worth applying for this.
The way to keep this moving
If we can get the scope and the funding figured out, but I would like to see the scope be bigger than just honing in on the 3 parcels.
That kind of hones into my point of like, why are we building more commercial space when we can't fill what we have right now? and it's not, and sorry, Erica, but I hate those surveys of like, what would you like to see? Like, oh, we want a nail salon. No one is going to go to a nail salon and support that in Randolph.
Oh, no,
like,
half of the survey results says we want Belmains back, which is not helpful.
And it didn't work because it didn't work. And there's no sense of reality. And there's a huge disconnect of what people think they will use and what they actually do use in a community. And so, so like that's kind of my sticking point, I guess, of just like, I feel like these projects happen a lot where they build something new and shiny while everything else is falling down. And everyone's focused on the new and shiny, and then that will end up failing because we're not really solving the big problems underneath, or we just have this idea of like, a few people want a nail salon, so let's see if we can find something to put a nail salon in, and like it's like the oddest things, and usually it doesn't quite go through it. So I'd like
Some
to
of
see
it is satisfying the existing, but some of it is how do you attract?
Sure, yeah, there's definitely a mix to it, yeah. But I just wouldn't want to take away time and money from things that could be focused on also, like, yeah.
But isn't, to Trevor's point, like, the master plan, part of the purpose of the master plan is to try and help do some of that too?
This isn't a master plan, though.
No, I'm saying
right.
that is
And there's
happening.
another plan.
And this is a grant.
No, there's not a master plan yet. It was more of a look for funding to do a master plan.
Okay.
All right.
Two
So
separate
what-
projects to try to look for funding.
What are,
This is more of a feasibility study to look at some of the
I'm
downtown
saying,
vacant space.
I thought the whole downtown assessment thing was the master plan coming out of the regional planning. It's just transportation.
Oh, that one's more bike ped focused, yeah.
Just sidewalks and
So at some point, what we've got to do is,
bike paths and
stitch all the big ideas together into one cohesive, called a master plan or strategic plan.
the flashing lights.
At some point, we got to build up the peak and have and make it all work. How everybody's shooting off in 100 different directions, and that's part of the challenge of getting anything done, whether it's redevelopment or development.
Right.
So to sum it up, we're looking for approval for the application with an expanded scope and assuming that the funding can be found with existing funds that we have or things that we're not going to do, which will be communicated out to the board before the application's submitted. Is that fair?
Trevor just froze.
He's ready. What am I doing? He's muted.
Sorry, I was writing, yes, I can not play video games.
So
you want all the tasks I mentioned earlier, we'll try to make it broader in scope. I'm going to use that earlier Ranchwood effort as a basis just because it's already plowed earth. We'll put it all together, folks can see it, we can disseminate information, you can see on the right side of all of the open meeting and public record stuff. And then take any feedback individually, and then we can use that as a basis of we'll plan to apply unless there's some kind of red flag, but then verify that in October. And if you say you don't want to do it after you've considered it, we'll reach out to the Northern Borders folks and withdraw right away. And embedded in all of those tasks is to confirm there was one about where does it come from, and we'll try to pin down if it's that grant funded. If not, do we have it? Where's it come from? What's it offset? What aren't we doing? Or is it something we have time to budget for as well? And then we can structure it if budget or budgets aren't approved, then the grant's done at that point too. So there might be a couple different ways, but we'll identify those pathways for you.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I think the other item on your to-do list is to look for funding a master plan. And the master plan should be town-wide. We have all these other little village centers and whatnot. We've got to start thinking about doing stuff for them and not just do the downtown.
Correct.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe the vehicle then, yeah. I was thinking more of a downtown master plan because it's a different set of activities. We also have our town planning process that's firing up, so we may have to spend some time thinking about how to link all the pieces together. What's the vehicle that hits all of those and stitches everything together?
Yep. Have we tapped into, there's ready funds to help apply for other grants that we have may not have access, it can pay for a grant writer for federal grants?
We haven't used those. We've been, the grant writing piece has never been the challenge for us. It's on the grant administration, grant acceptance project rollout. That's where some of the staffing and system shortages show up. And so just make sure we build with those in mind. But we may want to consider it if it's a larger, sort of larger scope plan.
Okay. All right, let's move to the municipal park and ride. Who's got that one?
So this is just the Pleasant Street lot. It's been on our to-do list since before I arrived in terms of where we're just going to repave it, reconfigure it, repaint it. So what there is through, I believe it's through V-Trans, there's a grant program. There's one pool, and Mark can talk about that because he talked to someone on that end in terms of what the funding is. We would be looking at our stormwater reserve primarily. We might tap into paving reserves as well. To update any of the stormwater pieces, there'd be new pavement, there'd be new marking. We'd probably change the circulation a little bit. We try to accommodate a bus shelter and some level of bus access. And some of that can be paid for through Tri-Valley Transit, some of the resources they have. There'd be some bike ped infrastructure in there as well. And then mostly the same, bike parking, bike racks, that type of stuff. Nothing too extreme or anything like that, but it's needed as a part of it. And so I really redesigned that lot. We'd probably look to fix the lighting there. That's been a constant source of complaints as well. So this could allow us to do all that. And takes care of a capital project that's been on that wish quite some time.
That sounds
Any
amazing.
questions on that one? Other than why did it
And
take so long?
Technically, we're asking you to ratify. This is the one we sent out to you prior and said, unless anybody objects right now, in order to meet a deadline based on when it came up, we'll apply, and then you can tell us on the 11th whether you want us to withdraw or stay in. So it's ratifying that action, essentially, is what we're seeking. Rita from Two Rivers has done the yeoman's effort. She's been great and has carried this for us. And just wanted to make sure we give her a little shout out for everything she does for us.
Yep.
I definitely like the idea of the Tri-Valley having a pickup spot over there because they do it in front of my loading dock, which isn't a big deal for me, but it's not safe for people. There's like huge dips back there, and that would be really great to see like a safer spot back there for folks to wait. So I motion to approve.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That one. New England Precision Environmental Conservation Grant Amendment. Is that you again, Mark?
That's me. So here comes NEP with a request for an amendment. It's a complicated grant that was approved that came to us in the fall of 2022. It was ARPA funding that was available to the tune of about $330,000 for a very valued local manufacturer, NEP. The scope of the work or the background was it was to remove 95% of the total lead and 82% of the total copper from our system. So the grant was awarded to NEP. Their engineers, they started the process. They hit a few snags in terms of cost associated with the machine, with the original idea. So they brought in some engineers to try to figure out a new plan. And DEC DEC has worked with us. They've brought in a few engineers to try to figure out a plan that might still accommodate the objective of that removal in our system. And there's been an agreement that this system will achieve the objectives in a satisfactory manner and allow them to conform with the regulations that are from the state, not us. So the request is just to amend some of the terms of the grant, and I've provided you with the actual specific changes in the grant, and I've also invited Ashley Hellman here with us from the DEC to answer any specific questions that you might have related to the technology associated with the amendment or with the project as a whole.
So, Mark, I just want to try to understand what the nature of the request is. So, there was the original grant agreement proposed a very specific kind of system to remove the heavy metals that was going to be too expensive, and so now they're coming back and they're saying we found another path to do this, to go accomplish the same objective, but because this method wasn't outlined in the original agreement, we need an addendum to say we're allowed to do it this way instead.
Yes, but you'll notice there are a few other things, some corrections that needed to happen to the grant. There were some errors in the original grant agreement, and you had approved those changes earlier this year to the grant amendment, but it was after that we determined NEP came back and asked us if we would reconsider based on the cost analysis of the project. So we did, and so we didn't bother ratifying the changes with DEC that you approved because we knew that if it was going to work, we would essentially be coming back to you for another amendment. So in order to save time for all parties, we sort of held off on that until we got through this process rather than doing another.
So actually, I know there's been some back and forth here between Randolph and DEC, and I hope, I heard some promising comments today that the view from the town and the impact of the town and us wanting to protect ourselves had been kind of an educational opportunity, and I'm really excited to hear that. Not to hear of the experience that this grant has brought you, but that's there. But I just want to make sure, like, I read through some of these changes, but I will admit that I was going in 100 directions and didn't really get to sit down and focus on them like a lawyer. But I assume this still means that the town of Randolph is a pass-through entity, and that we're not taking on, like, the way it's structured still, New England Precision has the financial liability in this one.
Correct.
Okay. I just want to make sure that part didn't change on us. And then you folks are working with them on approving on the technology side of it and the engineering and technical side? Great.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right, anybody have any other questions? As quick as that one is, I feel a little guilty not moving right up to the start of the... Anybody want to approve?
Motion to approve grant agreement amendment.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Ashley.
Anytime.
Initial discussion on the 27 budget goals, priorities, and budget writing process.
We usually put this on around this time. It's later in the agenda. It's just if you have anything that's a burning or pressing sort of need at this point. One of the things that we're going to do internally is in October, we're going to have a little bit of a academy type of day with departments and department heads review how we do things, what's going to change, if anything's going to change process-wise, what the timelines are, what everybody's homework deadlines are. just when we create the budgets, it's easier to do that with if you have any sort of initiatives, desired priorities in mind. So if you want certain, pardon me, hang on a second. So if you have certain initiatives or anything you want in mind, like if you want us to hit a specific tax rate target, you want there to be no increase, a mod increase, you want to see us invest in certain things, inflationary increases only, and then we'll dive into that mind and be able to show you what those trade-offs are. So it's just that, but the basic process or the basic timeline is going to be in October. Department heads are going to have their homework to do. At that point, we'll finalize sort of the capital program. We've been working through our vehicle list. We're going to hold an auction to get rid of a whole bunch of stuff we no longer need or want to keep around. And then, so when we get to you in November, there's at least some kind of draft, and whatever structure it is, and wherever you want us to go with the roadshow, there's at least some draft. We have a sense of healthcare numbers, we'll have a sense of employee cost. We'll know that we have to prepare for some union negotiations and what we want to put in for that, whether or not we want to farm it all out to an attorney or experience that much fun and do it again on our own. So there's that was nodding yes at first. I was going to do a wellness call to make sure you remembered the experience right. So if there's anything you want us to build in, and it's easier on the front end, but that's not to say we couldn't retrofit at any point or make adjustments throughout. But really want to make sure that departments are very involved in their budgets this year, all levels, and then that we get it going a little bit earlier, working to complete 25 closeout, get audit materials a lot earlier than we have, and so far so good, at least to the start. But so then November we'll have sort of draft one. December's kind of the big presentation to the board, and then from there you meet weekly throughout January until we set one, and then see if we want to do any sort of different things with presentation materials, budget reports. We've been pretty basic in terms of what we do. Here's the budget, here's a basic explanation as to what's up, down, and why. So we may try to do a little more this year just to provide a little extra transparency and explanation. Make sure people really understand what we need and how much. And some of the conversations we may, I don't want to say push this year, but then we may look to have with you when we get closer to the in-depth pieces or hey, here's the budget we built. Here are the constraints within this. Here's where we've been pinched. We think we're going to be pinched. Here's where service demands have gone here, and our resource levels stay here. This is where this is a struggle in practice. So we can at least have that conversation. Do you want to put more money in? Do we want to reconfigure services to match footprints? Do we want to keep talking about it, whatever it might be? So it's just a first check-in if you have any burning desires. Really, it's just to use this one to kind of get you thinking about.
I don't know that we have.
And if you don't, we'll just sort of build one that we think works. Yeah.
Anybody have any feedback on that yet, or?
No, I think usually the presentation has a good thought process behind it too, of just like bigger projects that might need to be focused on or not, and so I think it's usually well done, so I don't really have much to say about it.
You could also wait, and it's not uncommon for work. This will be okay, and then they see what we put in there, think about impacts, and go, holy crap. We want something completely different or something, these changes made. So that's why we want to move it a little bit earlier so that if you do end up in that holy crap space, we can build everything. Because I really, if we're tinkering with the budget down to that warning deadline at the end of the month, that we're going to put something on a warning with transpose numbers or something's going to be dramatically short as to what we need. These mistakes never seem to happen in a way where we end up with more money than we need. They're always, something got missed, and that's all avoidable. Those are self-inflicted wounds.
Full of ideas, recommendations? Not yet.
We're here to help you.
We gotta get you a person and a structure first.
Everybody's welcome to come next Tuesday.
Oh, yeah.
Listen in. Decide this is something I really want to do.
All right. Next up, we gotta consider appointing a delegate to the League of Cities and Towns Passett and Verb annual business meeting. Isn't this usually where we tag you?
This is the most fun any of you could have ever. Certainly in a year. If you haven't had the experience, you should really do it. It's all virtual. You get to learn all about property and casualty insurance. I mean, what could be better than that?
Think of a few things.
Yeah.
Or you can send me
I learned more about fire insurance than I ever wanted to. I'm good. It's somebody else's turn.
Is this something that's appropriate for Trevor to do?
Yeah, we always put him.
Okay, great. Awesome. Cool. Sold.
Yeah, and I don't think there's a policy component. Sometimes where we might want a board members, if there's something in the municipal policy which guides the advocacy efforts, and I think they're on a 2-year cycle. I don't even think this is a policy year cycle, but going back to when I worked there, it was the universal health care was how long this was sort of the big policy debate. You might want elected legislative folks rather than appointed people there on behalf if there's something meaty like that, but this is going to be, I think, regular business.
All right, motion.
All the stuff's online at their website if you want to see whatever they put up.
I'm good. A motion to appoint Trevor.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So we have the written manager's report. Do you have anything there you want to highlight or anything else to add?
I'm trying to find it on the phone. I didn't print myself a paper copy, which was a rookie move. I'm trying to use my iPhone.
It's the...
Nothing to add. I think we've got some ordinance work coming up. We may also went to a fire services meeting the other night. We were talking about which is a sort of a mutual aid system / radio collaborative. I wouldn't even call it a dispatch collaborative because we'd still have a separate dispatch services provider. It's mostly for the fire folks. And then folks would be sort of separate from that provider, but just sort of reporting that we're having that conversation to see if it makes sense to join and what those costs would be. There'd be some capital costs. There'd be some access or use of our tower that we'd want to consider that we would structure it well so we don't lose any rights or response. So we had a good conversation, but that'd be the only other thing that's happening. So over the next couple of months as we build budgets and think of schedule some time to talk through the details.
All right. Executive session.
I don't really have anything. I put those things on just in case.
Quick, somebody.
Wow, motion to adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.